ABC News HD Live augments the truth. God of world football, Diego Maradona is no more. Argentinian football legend Diego Maradona died at home, his lawyer said, just 2 weeks after having surgery on a blood clot in his brain on 25th November 2020. The flamboyant player, best known for leading Argentina to the 1996 World Cup title, was 60. Earlier in November, Maradona had undergone a surgery for a brain clot. His personal doctor, neurologist Leopoldo Luque, had said that the problem likely was caused by an accident. He was, however, released from a Buenos Aires hospital just over a week after undergoing the surgery and was to continue his recovery in a private home. Maradona won the World Cup with Argentina in 1996, having knocked England out of the tournament in a match which saw him score the famous Hand of God's goal. His such untimely demise has been the global tragedy. The Argentinian news outlet Clarín broke the news on Wednesday afternoon UK time, describing the news of Maradona's passing as having a worldwide impact. Maradona left the hospital on 11 November, just 8 days after being admitted for emergency brain surgery. Maradona was hospitalized the previous week and had to have an emergency operation to remove a blood clot from his brain. Matias Molhas, his lawyer, said that the 60-year-old would continue to receive treatment for alcohol dependency. Maradona, who was the coach of Gimnasia y Esgrima in his home country, had been admitted to hospital on several occasions since his retirement. He almost died of cocaine-induced heart failure in 2000 and underwent years of rehabilitation. He also fell ill at the last World Cup in Russia, where he was filmed passing out in an executive box when Argentina took on and beat Nigeria in Group D. In 1984, Maradona was back in the field with the Argentina national team, making headlines around the world for a now famous screaming celebration into the camera lens after a goal against Greece. In 2000, the footballing legend suffered an overdose, and in 2004 he had a heart attack. A year later, he was forced to have a gastric bypass surgery, and in 2007 he was back in hospital again, this time suffering hepatitis. Maradona is a legend of Argentinian football and widely held as one of the greatest football players. He had celebrated his 60th birthday on 30th October and had showed up that night for Gimnasia's national championship match against Patronato, which his team won 3-0. It was before the end of the first half, which had raised questions about his health. Along with Brazil's Pelé, Maradona was known as one of the greatest footballers of all time. Diego Armando Maradona, born on 30th October 1960 and passed away on 25th November 2020. He is an Argentine professional footballer and a football manager. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest football players of all time, and by many years the greatest ever. He was one of the two joint winners of the FIFA Player of the 20th Century Award. Maradona's vision, passing, ball control and dribbling skills were combined with his small stature, 1.65 meter or 5 feet 5 inch, which gave him a better than most other football players. He would often dribble past multiple opposing players on a run. His presence and leadership on the field had a great effect on his team's general performance. While he would often be singled out by the opposition, in addition to his creative abilities, he also possessed an eye for goal and was known to be a free-kick specialist. A precocious talent, Maradona was given the nickname El Pibe de Oro, that is, the Golden Boy, a name that stuck with him throughout his career. In his international career with Argentina, he earned 91 caps and scored 34 goals. Maradona played in 4 FIFA World Cups, including the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, where he captained Argentina and led them to victory over West Germany in the final and won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. In the 1986 World Cup quarter-final, he scored both goals in a 2-1 victory over England that entered football history for 2 different reasons. The first goal was an unpenalized handling foul known as the Hand of God, while the second goal followed a 60-meter, that is 66 yards, dribble past 5 England players, voted Goal of the Century by FIFA. Maradona became coach of Argentina in November 2008. He was in charge of the team at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Before leaving at the end of the tournament, he coached Dubai-based club Al Wasl in the UAE Pro League for the 2011-12 season. In 2017, Maradona became the coach of Fujairah before leaving at the end of the season. In May 2018, Maradona was announced as the new chairman of. On 20th October 1976, Maradona made his professional debut for Argentina's juniors, 10 days before his 16th birthday, versus Torres de Cordoba. He entered to the pitch wearing the number 16 jersey and became the youngest player in the history of Argentine Premier Division. Few minutes after debuting, Maradona kicked the ball to Juan Domingo Cabrera's legs and making a nutmeg that would become legendary. After the game, Maradona said, quote-unquote, "Oh, that day I felt I had held the sky in my hands." 30 years later, Cabrera remembered Maradona's debut. Quote-unquote, "I was on the right side of the field and went to press him, but he didn't give me a chance. He made the nutmeg, and when I turned around, he was far away from me." Maradona scored his first goal in the Primera Division against Platense team San Lorenzo on 14th November 1976, 2 weeks after turning 16. The Argentine side was defeated in the second round by Brazil and by eventual winners Italy. The Italian match is renowned for Maradona being aggressively marked by Claudio Gentile, as Italy beat Argentina at the Sarria Stadium in Barcelona 2-1. Maradona played in all 5 matches without being substituted, scoring twice against Hungary. He was fouled repeatedly in all 5 games, and particularly in the last one against Brazil in the Sarria, a game that was blighted by poor officiating and violent fouls, with Argentina already down 3-0 to Brazil. Maradona's temper eventually got the better of him, and he was sent off with 5 minutes remaining for a serious retaliatory foul against Batista. Maradona captained Argentina again in the 1990 World Cup in Italy to yet another World Cup final. An ankle injury affected his overall performance, and he was much less dominant than 4 years earlier. After losing their opening game to Cameroon at the San Siro in Milan, Argentina were almost eliminated in the first round, only qualifying in 3rd position from their group. In the round of 16 match against Brazil in Turin, Claudio Caniggia scored. Repeat. Claudio Caniggia scored the only goal after being set up by Maradona in the quarter-final. Argentina faced Yugoslavia in Florence. The match ended 0-0 after 120 minutes, with Argentina advancing in a penalty shootout. Even though Maradona's key, a weak shot to the goalkeeper's right, was saved. The semi-final against the host nation Italy at Maradona's club stadium in Naples. The Stadio San Paolo was also resolved on penalties after a 1-1 draw. This time, however, Maradona was successful with his effort, daringly rolling the ball into the net with an almost exact replica of his unsuccessful kick in the previous round. At the final in Rome, Argentina lost 1-0 to West Germany, the only goal being a penalty by Andreas Bram in the 85th minute after. after a controversial foul on Raul. At the 1994 World Cup in the United States, Maradona played in only 2 games and about at the Foxborough Stadium near Boston, scoring 1 goal against Greece and before being sent home after failing a drug test for ephedrine doping. After scoring against Greece, Maradona had one of the most infamous World Cup goal celebrations as he ran towards one of the sideline cameras, shouting with a distorted face and bulging eyes. This turned out to be Maradona's last international goal for Argentina in the second game, a 2-1 victory over Nigeria, which was to be his last game for Argentina. He set up both his team's goals on free kicks, the second and assists to Canigia. In his autobiography, Maradona argued that the test result was due to his personal trainer giving him the power drink refuel. His claim was that the US version, unlike the Argentine one, contained the chemical and that, having run out of his Argentine dosage, his trainer unwittingly bought the US formula. FIFA expelled him from USA 94 and Argentina were subsequently eliminated in the second round by Romania in Los Angeles. Maradona has also separately claimed that he had an agreement with FIFA on which the organization reneged to allow him to use the drug for weight loss before the competition in order to be able to play. He failed the drug test at the 1994 World Cup, signaled the end of his international career, which had lasted 7 years, and he had 24 goals from 91 games, as well as 1 winners' medal and a 1 runners-up medal in the World Cup. Described as a classic number 10 in the media, Maradona was a traditional playmaker who usually played in free role either as an attacking midfielder behind the forwards or as a second striker in front too, although he was also deployed as an offensive-minded central midfielder in a 4-4-2 formation on occasion. Maradona was renowned for his dribbling ability, vision, close ball control, passing and creativity, and is considered one of the most skillful players in the sport. Maradona was dominantly left-footed, often using his left foot, even when the ball was positioned more suitably for a right-footed connection. His first goal against Belgium in the 1986 World Cup semi-final is a worthy indicator of such. He had run into the inside right channel to receive a pass, but let the ball travel across to his left foot, requiring more technical ability. Pleasantries with Ganguly and his team. Cricket legend Sourav Ganguly is a big fan of Maradona. He grew up watching Maradona's 1986 World Cup triumph and was heartbroken as he missed out on a chance to play against his childhood icon. Quote unquote, "It would have been great to have played with him, but he could not play," Ganguly said after featuring in the 7-a-side exhibition match. Diego Maradona was an Argentine football player still known as one of the greatest soccer players ever to play the game. Since returning, he has managed the national team as well as various clubs. His most iconic game was 1986 World Cup quarter-final against England, where he scored the hand of the goal with his hand before. No need that. Maradona was raised in a shanty town in Lanús and Buenos Aires, Argentina, in a very poor family. His dad was a factory worker. His early football career progressed with Maradona's self-confessed dream to be able to buy his parents a house and look after his 3 elder sisters. His background and the impact it had on Diego's character must have appealed to Fidel, and we should remember that Fidel himself had a certain Argentinian comrade in arms named Ernesto Che Guevara. Maradona was raised in a shanty town in Lanús, Buenos Aires, Argentina, in a very poor family. His dad was a factory worker. His early football career progressed with Maradona's self-confessed dream to be able to buy his parents a house and look after his 3 elder sisters. His background and the impact it had on Diego's character must have appealed to Fidel, and we should remember that Fidel himself had a certain Argentinian comrade in arms named Ernesto Che Guevara. Diego Maradona has a tattoo of not only the Che Guevara on his right arm but also Fidel Castro on his left leg. In the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, Maradona-inspired Argentina were crowned champions for the second and last up to now time in their history, shortly after Maradona made his first visits to Cuba, meeting Castro, where they would chat and Maradona would listen to Fidel's tales of the Cuban Revolution. Maradona would gift Fidel football shirts such as his famous number 10 Argentinian shirt. Maradona was at that time transforming the fortunes of Napoli in the Italian Serie A. It hadn't worked out for him at Barcelona, and playing for a southern Italian team was true to his nature. They were the underdogs and were looked down on as dirty and disease-ridden by the hell of northern Italy. He transformed Napoli from relegation candidates to Serie A and UEFA Cup champions, and was literally worshipped as a saint in Catholic Italy, or Naples at least. Maradona's time in Kolkata. It was a dream come true for football fans in Kolkata, who has been worshipping Maradona over 25 years now. Over the years they have chased him in his dream, but the actual chase began last night when he landed in Dundee Airport and took the shape of madness in Salt Lake Stadium. This madness was actually love for their hero, who had come all the way from Argentina, where football is life and football is perhaps everything. The entire world pause and shouts respect tribute to Maradona's time and his play. Repeat. Fidel Castro offered the football legend the use of La Pedrara clinic in Cuba to treat his problems with a Cuban health service renowned throughout the world. Maradona would spend 4 years in Cuba treating his addictions. Fidel would apparently call on Maradona in the mornings to talk about sport and politics with him and encourage him that he could break his addiction. Maradona himself admitted that Fidel's intervention saved his life. Castro said of him that Diego is a great friend and very noble too. There's no question he is a wonderful athlete and has maintained a friendship with Cuba to no material gain of his own. On the 25th of November 2016, Fidel Castro died in Havana, and Diego Maradona said, "He was like a second father to me." Before traveling to Cuba to take part in the national mourning, he opened the doors of Cuba to me when Argentina was closing them. Accompanied by his girlfriend Veronica F. Estefani, Maradona paid homage at the tomb of Mother Teresa and spent half an hour at Mother House, the global headquarters of the Missionaries of Charity founded by Mother Teresa, who dedicated her life to work among the poor, dying, and aged. He lit a candle at Mother's tomb, participated in a prayer session with the Sisters of the Order, and shook hands with the orphan children to fulfill a wish he has nurtured for years. Quote unquote, "I wanted to see what Mother Teresa has done in the city," Maradona said. After a break, the soccer legend had taken to Indira Bhavan, Salt Lake, the residence of veteran Marxist leader and former Chief Minister of West Bengal, Jyoti Basu. Maradona shook his hands with the veteran leader and sat next to him and exchanged a few words. The legend Indian Communist leader Mr. Jyoti Basu welcomed the world soccer legend by presenting a bouquet and showed him a photo album that had a few pictures showing Castro and Basu standing side by side, which was taken in 1973 when the former Cuban president paid a visit to the city of Joy, Kolkata. Maradona told Mr. Basu, with the help of an interpreter, that Fidel Castro is my friend. Anybody who is Castro's friend is my friend. So Jyoti Basu is my friend. Goodbye, God of world football. Goodbye. Bureau Report, ABC News, agtlive.